Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's Monday evening. It's actually quite warm. It's just under 20 degrees C, so warm for us in the UK. It's pretty much rained solid all day yesterday and most of Saturday. Just having a look at these. I suspect the onions won't recover because their leaves are like tubular. With that rabbit eating the tops off them, they tend to fill with water, or they can fill with water, and they just rot then. It looks like some of the beetroots got a few new leaves coming out. So same with these. The older onions, which you can see are forming up nicely, they should be okay. They weren't attacked, but these young ones, all the open ends, if they fill with water, then they'll just rot. I think the leeks will all survive because the leek leaves are more like blades of grass, so they're not hollow. And you can trim, when you plant leeks, you can sort of trim the top and the tail very slightly, the roots a little bit when you plant them, so they don't lean over and touch the damp ground. But again, these leeks have stood up even though they've been nibbled. Apparently they're quite rare, these now, King Edward butterfly. We all hate caterpillars, or gardeners do, they eat your cabbage and greens, but so again, the leeks have pretty much stood up. I think the leeks will all survive fine. But those ones have stood up as well. Just amazes me. I mean, I've not put anything in the compost since last week, and it's dropped loads. I've even got some mushrooms or something growing in there. I won't chance eating them. I don't know whether they'll be edible or not, but all kinds of bugs running around in there. Probably next visit when I bring me, I'll be doing me big pan of stew tonight, so I'll get all my peelings and that and bring them down next time. Greenhouse is looking okay. Obviously having that open window up there still. All of these down here are still pretty damp. Last couple and the cucumber could do with a bit of a drink. They're not dry. Got a few cucumbers forming again, a couple there, a couple more up top, and there's a couple of yellow flowers I can see in the background there, so there's like a second stem. Probably pick a few of these sun gold before I go this evening. A bit disappointed with this yellow sweet thing. It just looks like they're just naturally split. They've not had any erratic watering or anything, but they all just seem to be splitting. So if the bugs get a scent of that, they'll be in there sort of drinking the juice and eating the soft tissue. So it looks like I'm getting a bit of decay on a couple of these now, some sort of dry leaf curl and stuff, so I'm going to have to cut all the dead bits out tonight. But everything else seems pretty healthy. These others have all taken off. I didn't tie any off on, was it Friday night I came over? So I'll tie these up to the canes. So I'll do these few jobs and I'll bring you back in a bit before I go. I've tied off the tomatoes that needed a bit of string on them to keep them growing up straight. I've picked the ripe and split tomatoes. I'll take them home with me tonight. So give the few a water that needed it. A few to take home with me, and a couple of little garlic bulbs. I've got quite a few of them. I pulled out the ground. Most I'll replant, but I'll try eating a couple, see what they're like. This tub's about 4 inches deep, so if you think over the weekend this is filled with water, you know, so I've had at least 4 inches of rain come down over the weekend, more than that. The wagon just shot past there through a big puddle on the road. So that'll do me. I'm not sure when I'll get down again next. Possibly Thursday this week. So having a day off on Wednesday, hoping go fishing again. So if I can, I'll take you along if the weather's agreeable. So catch you next time. One heading in for a change. Good afternoon, Friday afternoon. I'm back at the allotment. Fortunately, just a flying visit today. I've got a medical appointment shortly, so I just wanted to duck in and check for water and that. I haven't been for a few days. Bit disappointing, really. I don't know if it's because the roof's open, so some of these are just being battered with rain. Wait for the plane to go by. But there's a few plants in here I'm going to have to rip out. I can't do it today. I'm going to have to come back tomorrow over the weekend. This Tigerella, a load of the fruit's just rotting on the plant, and it's just going sort of grey and dying back. That Gardener's Delight, a lot of same things happening there, just a load of rot on the stem. This one, this plum tomato's doing the same. Not quite so bad on that. That was the Lucky Dip one. I don't know what that was, but again, it looks like some of the fruit's going off on it. Mountain Magic, and I'm sure that's meant to be disease resistant. Well, that's had a slug running around on it, but that's got some leaf curl. The Ruby one's okay. The Sun Gold in the corner's okay. That Sweet Million there, that's got a load of rotten stuff on it. And the Black Cherry in the corner's not too bad, and this Bush one's not too bad, and some of the ones I never got potted up. There's one or two in there looking a bit dodgy, but if I pull some of these out, I might be able to salvage one or two out of that bucket, just to see if we can get one or two trusses on them before the growing season ends. So I'll give stuff a bit of a water. A few nice cucumbers forming there, a few in reserve, a few in the top. So the biggest one there probably needs a few more days just to fatten out, but I need to come back and severely prune, stroke remove some of these plants and get them burnt. So it looks like I might be doing that part of tomorrow. I brought me this week's kitchen waste, vegetable peelings and stuff with me, so they've gone in the compost bin. It's really hot today actually, it's about 23 degrees, 24 degrees. Looks like the rabbit's still been munching on some stuff. All the new growth that had come back on the beetroot's gone, so it obviously isn't afraid of going in a tunnel. Completely devastated some of these little red onions, that they'll not do anything now. I'm quite annoyed about that now. I've not bumped into apparently there's a couple of mates doing the front half between them, but I've not bumped into either of them in several weeks, so I'll have to leave a message with the allotment rep to pass on. Because again, I got here today and the gate was just to say pull two with a big gap at the bottom. Not good. So I'm going to grab my stuff and head home, get ready for the medical appointment. So I'll bring you back over the weekend if I make it down here. I'll probably do a bit of a video at home otherwise if I don't. Cheers for watching so far. It's Sunday afternoon. I wouldn't normally be at the allotment on a Sunday, but I had to come back, and as you can see, a lot of empty spaces. Just ripped out all the dead or decaying plants. Definitely blight. My allotment neighbour at the side, a lot of his potatoes have suffered from blight as well, his main crop. So I think he's hacking the tops off a load of them. I've piled all the diseased tomato bits into the top of the incinerator, and hopefully it's dry enough in there now so the whole lot will burn out. It'll certainly generate a lot of heat and help dry out anything that's not quite dry yet, but it has had a cover on, so it should be drying out, and there is ventilation to it. So I'll get out of the way of that. It's drying, something in there's burning, so hopefully as it builds heat it'll help dry out and keep going, reduce all that to just a pile of ash. Grab me broom. So I had two plants there that I brought down that don't look like they'd got any disease on them. So, and I've had a drink of my coffee. I'll clean out a couple of these buckets and I'll get them two potted, see if we can get a little bit of fruit off them before the season ends. We have been promised some better weather again come August, which is obviously just around the corner now, or it might be towards the end of August. So see what happens. Just have to keep nibbling out any decayed leaves. I might have to bring that bag of Epsom salt from home. I should have some in the shed here, but I'll have a look after. They could probably do with a bit of the nutrient. I might just top dress them all with a handful of chicken pellets or something, give them a boost. I'll bring you back in a bit. I do have an idea to actually try and rig a hydroponic sort of system up in here for growing tomatoes in, to avoid the need for compost and buckets every year. Just literally run a 4 or a 5 inch pipe around the sort of U shape of the greenhouse, bore holes in to grow the tomatoes in at least a 4 inch pot with like clay pebbles or something like that. It'd be like an ebb and flood type system. It's easy enough to gravity feed it, but it's getting the liquid back out into a holding tank. So unless I dig a big hole to sink a tank in the floor, which I don't really want to do, I'll just have to rig up a way of like pumping the liquid out once it's sort of flushed through. It just have to be like a regular sort of flush through and pump out back to the holding tank. So I'll have to have a think about that. I did buy some Arduino stuff, but I haven't got my head around that yet. Wiring things up and stuff is one thing, but the programming side is something totally different. But it could be done very easily with Arduino and float level switches and various sensors, humidity sensors, temperature sensors, but I'm nowhere near that sort of level. But I'll have a think about that, maybe try and come up with something over winter, because it'd make life much easier if you just got the plant in like a 4 inch basket. You just sort of lift it out with a giant root ball and flush the pipe out each year. So I'll give that a dose of thinking about, maybe draw something up, see what I can come up with. So having this sort of stack of pallets here, it's like a little bench. Could hold a barrel of nutrient solution on there. Just have a something that opens, switches a like a valve to open and flood the system. But I say it's pumping the liquid back to the tank. It's easy enough to rig a pump and everything up, but it's, you know, you don't want the pump to run dry kind of thing. So I shall have a think about that for the rest of the season, and maybe something like a project for over winter. I salvaged the best two of the tomato plants that I had left that I'd never got planted, although I did end up cutting them off at the stalk. There was some root nodules on the bottom of the stem, but there was a bit of evidence of maybe some blight starting on them at the very base, so I just cut them off, and I had just enough compost left in the two bags I had part open I was mixing to fill these two pots. So one of them's another sun gold, one of them's another just a plum. I've also had a load of old like fertiliser that a friend of mine gave me, belonged to his late father. So there's a load of chicken pellets and some bloodfish and bone. So I put a good scoop of like chicken pellets in each pot that are surviving. I'll give them a sprinkling of the bloodfish and bone. I found a near empty bag of the Epsom salt, so they've all had a share of that. And I also had a tub of like a seaweed meal, a dry powder one. So they've each had a sprinkling of that, and I think, if I remember right, you can actually dissolve that stuff in water and use it as a liquid feed. So they've all having a bit of a nutrient boost. As you can see from my chair, it started spitting with rain, but I can't disappear just yet while the fire's still burning. So I'll put my gear away and just wait for that fire to get put out or die out of its own accord. I'm not in any big rush, so not a lot more I can do outside at the minute while it's starting to rain. I'll bring you back before I go. These chicken manure pellets, being quite old, and they're probably about 15 years old, they're extremely dry, so they'll actually act like a slow release fertiliser now, because they'll have to absorb moisture first, and they'll swell up and then they'll slowly break down on the surface. So each time you water, you'll get a bit of nutrient back off them, so that should help give the plants a bit of a boost. I'm going to I'll cut that truss off altogether. They're the last 4 fruit, and they're ripe, and there's a couple of ripe ones there, so it does look like there's a bit decay on the end of that leaf. So that truss has finished what it had to do, produce them fruit. These will probably chances are, if it's weather's okay, I'll be back tomorrow night after I finish work, because I'm roughly halfway between where I live and where I work here. Chances are these two plants that I've just put in, because I've cut the root ball off, they'll probably go limp between now and tomorrow, and that they'll probably just sag for a couple of days. But like I say, there was root nodules forming on the actual stalk, so hopefully they'll fly out and the plants will pick up again quite quickly. Obviously I've absolutely saturated them in as that was dry compost, so it's all gone right through, but it'll slowly suck it back into the compost as the compost sort of takes on moisture. You can tell from that dark colour as well, that's some of that seaweed meal that's dissolved into the water. So you know, even if you only get one truss of fruit off them before the end of the growing season, it is, you know, another punnet or two of tomatoes that you've gained. I'm not going to fill, I'm going to leave a gap between these others now, in case any of these others just develop further blight. Still a couple of curly leaves on there, actually I might have to take off. I'll bring you back in a bit. I just pulled the contents of a tyre from probably the year before last. I can't remember what they are. There might have been leeks, but it looks like they've formed new little bulbs or separated into little bulbs, so it could have been a garlic or an onion then. So I'm going to leave them for a day or two, let the rain wash them off. There's some holes in the bottom of there so they won't flood. Won't be long now. The fire's nearly finished. I give it a bit of a stir and it got a new lease of life on it, so it's nearly finished. Just a shame if I have to leave it without the cover on. The ash will just get washed straight through and into the ground underneath, but not to worry, there'll be more fires. So I'm just going to hang around for another 10 or 15 minutes or so, wait for that fire to burn out. The chair's wet. Yeah, I picked them few tomatoes that were ripe. Might harvest probably tomorrow or Wednesday that bigger of them cucumbers. Another dodgy leaf there on there. Yeah, just not quite filled out fully yet. I'll drop them in the fire while it's still going. Don't know what's gone on there. Somebody's lobbed a potato over into my patch. Looks like a rabbit or something's had a nibble on the side of it. It's not one of mine, they're all in that tyre. I was just having a look at my potatoes and there's some blight on mine as well, so whether I'll get to grow some of them potato apple seeds before I have to just cut the top off, I don't know. Hopefully there's a bit of a crop of potatoes in there. I've just altered some of these guards a little bit, see if try and give them plants a chance without the rabbit. I've not seen it since that first occasion. I believe there's a few of them about. One of the guys further down was telling me he put some nature cams up and he's seen a couple of them happily munching in his patch, so they're always a problem. So I think that'll do me for now. I'll be heading home shortly. I'm just going to wait 5 or 10 minutes for that fire to burn out. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.